Welcome. I'm Ryan Campbell. Thank you for joining the conversation. If you have kids or grandkids, I'm sure early childhood development is going to be a very interesting topic for you. And that's why today we're here joined with Sarah Garcia. And Sarah, you are the Executive Director of First Five for Tuolumne County, correct?
I am, yes.
Well, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great. So can you tell me a little bit about, so what does First Five do? And then I also want to talk about the idea that why those first 5 years of a child's life are so important.
Sure. So I'll just go into a little bit of the background of how First Five came into be, and then I'll share with you what we do. So in 1999, so over 20 years ago, California voters passed Proposition 10.
God, it's hard to believe 1999 was over 20 years ago.
23 years ago.
23 years, yeah.
They, which Proposition 10 is a tobacco tax. So it placed a 50-cent tax on all tobacco products. And the goal of this proposition was to create the California Children and Families Commission, which was a way to invest these tobacco taxes into early childhood and to support families with young children. So First Five Tuolumne started, again, it started in 1999, and it's comprised of a commission. So we have leaders from across the county that help support the investing of these funds into early childhood, specifically to support families that have young children, and educators as well, who support early childhood development.
So all 58 counties in California have their own First Five commission.
Yep, yeah, they have their own commission. They get tobacco taxes based on the number of births in the county.
Okay.
And then they have complete control over where those tobacco taxes are invested. So that's why we have our commission, folks from across the county that represent different sectors and have different experience. And they bring in, what the county needs, and we're able to invest in those areas with very few limitations. So, we have regulations around needing to support health, quality early education, and family resilience. So those are our three priority areas. But our commission really has designed itself in a way that we can meet the needs of our families without the state telling us that we have to, be really specific in where we invest. We're able to look at what our community needs and invest there without a lot of external regulations, really. So it's a perfect model of local control where we know what we need and we're able to invest in that. And I think our community has been incredibly successful in doing that.
Yeah, and one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about was this idea. I just look at the way, in my own lifetime, the way that we look at children and how we view them as people has changed. I remember being young, and it was sort of like, that idea that children should be seen and not heard, and that really, kids are not fully formed human beings until they're, preteens or teenagers or somewhere in there, and those early years don't really matter. But that's completely shifted, and I think for the better, because I tend to more agree that those years are extremely important, because, and can you give an idea of why people thought maybe that way in the past, and what led to us kind of having this idea that those first 5 years of development are extremely important to that child's future success in life down the road?
We don't remember our first few years, right? We don't have a lot of memories of what happened to us when we were babies. So maybe we thought that those years were just not that important. But research has shown that actually 90% of a child's brain is developed by the time they're 5 years old. So their neural pathways, the way that, they react to stimulus, that is all developed before they even get into kindergarten. So with that knowledge and the research that's been done, we're seeing more investments in early childhood, like, expanding our education system by now we're including transitional kindergarten and, pre-K. The state has recognized that those are super valuable times. We're trying to do more investing in preschools and those types of things, because the way that our brains are formed when we're babies, it's the path that our life is going to go on. You know, if we have a ton of stress when we're young babies, before 5 years old specifically, that guides how we react to stressors, our entire lives.
What are some of the things that will be stressors for a child that an adult might not necessarily think about?
Well, we talk a lot in the early childhood field, and actually across, many public service agencies, around ACEs, which are adverse childhood experiences. And those include, abuse, neglect. There's things like, parents separating, death in the family, big lifetime stressors. And the more of those that you have in your life when you're young, the shorter your lifespan is. So, it's just showing that you're going to have a likelihood to have more addiction issues. You're going to have more trouble like keeping a job, finding work. It impacts your relationships as an adult. So, our work at First Five and many other service agencies in the county, we're really focusing on those early years and how we can support families to reduce the chances that those kids are going to have these adverse experiences. So, we know that kids don't grow up in a vacuum.
Yeah.
They grow up with their family and their community and their country. So our goal at First Five is to really find ways to best support that family, because if we can support parents and grandparents and then the greater community, so that they understand the value of those early years, the better success that child's going to have. Every dollar that you invest in early childhood is a $7 return. So if you even want to talk about economics, if you invest $1,000 in that child's early childhood education, you're saving $7,000 of potential, mental health issues that person's going to have to spend, or they may be incarcerated, or they may not have the earning potential that they would have otherwise had if they really had been nurtured and encouraged to meet their potential as a young person.
And one of the things that I think about a lot is that, the kids that are growing up right now, they're going to be the kids that are going to be my doctor when I'm older. They're going to be the ones prescribing my medication. They're going to be the ones, fixing my house. And so it's in my own best interest that they have the tools to be successful in life, because if they are out there, if more kids are able to get a good education, be happy with their lives, then that means that that's going to come back to me, where I'm going to have a better doctor. I'm going to have better access to things when I'm older and I need them. And
you don't want your tax dollars going to just keep people in jail.
Yeah.
Right? We want to support those kids as early as possible so that our investments in the future are not, reactionary to them having problems and troubles. It's, wouldn't it be great if the amount of money that we're spending on those programs now, if we could invest them in other things like infrastructure and healthcare and, the things that really bring us up in the world and, enrich our lives. So every opportunity that I get to talk about how vital it is, it's a long-term investment. We're not going to see returns in 5, 10, 15 years. We're going to see them in 35, 40 years.
Right.
So
what's kind of the emphasis now versus where things were a few years ago?
The emphasis now is definitely on prevention. So
like prevention of what?
Prevention of adverse experiences. For example, we have been supporting this program called, it was called SELF and now it's called SEED. And what it is, it's a social emotional specialist who works with children who have social emotional developmental needs, right? So Historically, there were kids getting kicked out of preschool all the time because of behaviors, right? The teachers didn't know what to do. So First Five and many other, not just our county, but all across the state, started investing in the teachers. So let's teach the preschool teachers some awesome skills on how to improve their environment, improve their knowledge about social and emotional development, so that they can support those kids. We don't have to get them into like a psychologist or, have behavior plans and all those things. Like, they have the people that are around them the most get the skills that they need to really support those kids. So we're getting ahead of it before some of those behaviors even start, which now in our county, you don't see kids get kicked out of preschool. Like, our one-on-one interventions that we were really investing in hardly ever happen because we don't have teachers contacting us saying, I need help, I have this kid, I don't know what to do, because our preschool teachers and our childcare providers in our county are just eating up the professional development and the services that are available. They're seeing how much it impacts their programs, and their kids are happier. They understand how their environment of their center even impacts their kids' behavior.
So that's really interesting. So it sounds like it's a lot of looking at training. It's not so much focused on the kids. It's focused on training the adults to interpret the behaviors of the children and react to them appropriately.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, imagine you can work with one kid, but if you work with a teacher, they're going to work with hundreds of kids.
Yeah.
So supporting those that support the kids we're finding is a much better investment, like long-term, for the success of the kids.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about that, because I've had, so with my kids, it's important to me that there's trust, that they trust me and that I trust them, and that if something's wrong in their life, that they feel they can come to me and tell me, even if it's something I didn't necessarily want to hear. I want them to feel comfortable being able to do that, because as long as they're open and I know what's going on, then we can help. And we're going through this situation now where we have a child that she complains of stomach pain a lot and doesn't want to go to school because she's sick. But then when you talk it out a little more, it's really, this friend doesn't want to play with me on the playground, and that's why I don't want to go to school, or those types of things. That it's not really that she's sick and can't go to school. It's that there's something else going on. But how do you approach something like that, where it's hard to get it's hard to get a straight answer out of kids sometimes, and so they're not going to tell you in plain English necessarily what's going on, because they don't necessarily understand it.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head right there. A lot of times kids don't know why they feel the way they feel. We have more than 5 years of experience learning to interpret like our bodies and why we feel certain things. We know that if we get a stomach ache before something that is scary, we know why, right? We know that it's nerves.
If your stomach hurts before a big exam, it's probably more about anxiety than...
Right. So we've had time to learn about why our body acts certain ways, and how our emotions impact how we feel, So I think as parents, it's our job to listen and then help kids, and my kids, everybody's kids go through that, by the way. They all do.
Oh, thank you.
I deal with that sometimes. But just having that conversation, like you're saying, maybe just asking more questions and getting them to open up a little bit about maybe what's going on. I have these conversations almost every day at home. It's like, oh, my kid, I don't feel good. Well, all right, let's, what's happening today? What's in the future? Because that's where our anxiety is, right? It's like something that's going to happen. And almost always there's a test, or I didn't do my homework, or whatever. But just asking questions, I think, and letting them know this is normal. I feel this way too. everybody feels this way when they're having troubles with their friends. It's letting them know that the way they're feeling is okay, and you're not mad, you're not upset that they're having this experience. But I think as they get older, they'll start to recognize that, like, oh, wait, okay, my stomach hurts, but I also know that this is happening. And then offering them some tools on what to do when they feel that way. So, I mean, there's a million books out there about how to manage anxiety, and they're not all like anxiety workbooks. It's like, First Five is just coming out with this new way of handling those big emotions, and it's all about like taking big deep breaths and how valuable that is to helping us calm ourselves when we're angry or anxious or whatever. Those are some of the tools. You can figure out what works for your kid, because it might be something else. It might be they need to go sit outside on the swing for a minute, or sing a song, or take a bath, or whatever it is.
Yeah. But taking a bath thing, that works. Like, it's something about the warm water, and they can play with the toys, and
yes,
they always chill out
Yep.
after taking a bath.
My daughter's favorite way of calming herself, she's learned, is that we have a swing in our backyard, and it's like this big, pretty adult swing, but that's what she does. She'll go, if she's frustrated.
That's her safe harbor. That's her.
Yeah, it's like pillows, and it's a cozy spot, and she can swing. And I catch her out there before school a lot of days. That's just, she can get herself centered. She, her mom is a early childhood person, so
Guru.
not guru, but I like invest a lot of my mental time into cultivating that awareness about why you feel the way you feel. And a lot of it is because I had to do it for myself. I've experienced all of these things. I've had anxiety issues and whatever that I've learned from, and so we've helped install that in our kids too. Like, what are some of the things that work for you? And so having that quiet time, and she'll listen to music and swing, and then comes back in, is okay.
You became famous, I guess is the word, locally famous, for a project that you were involved in a few years ago called Big Dreams Park. How did that happen? Can you tell us a little bit about the park, and how is it going now?
Sure. So in 2000, I think it was 2011, this project started, and it came to be because my daughter has some special needs and wasn't walking. She wasn't meeting her milestones and whatever, but was really struggling with walking, and getting out to our parks where normally parents have their social time, and especially when kids are really young, that's where you meet your mom friends that have kids the same age. And we couldn't go. There were no parks in our county that were accessible. So, for a walker or a wheelchair or whatever type of mobility device that these young kids were using, our parks were really hard to get through. And I kind of was mourning that. I think there was like a part, when you're a new parent, you're like, I can't wait to do this and this and this. We're going to go to the park. We're going to all the things, right? And that was just one thing that when I was talking with other parents who were kind of in the same situation, is we needed somewhere to go that wasn't like our therapy appointments, because our kids were doing physical therapy and all these things, and that was our only social time with each other. Which turned out to be actually a great support group for all of us. And I met a bunch of fantastic parents who we came together and formed this nonprofit to build a park in our county for kids with special needs. And then it turned into something way bigger, right? We were thinking like, we just want our kids to be able to get around and for us to spend time together. And then it actually, as we were researching and learning more, it was like, wait, this is so much bigger. This is about parents that have disabilities. This is about grandparents who want to take their grandkids to the park. And the ones that we have, they're beautiful, but they're really hard to get around. And if you are older or have any type of mobility issues. So, that's where our Big Dreams Park came from. It was our desire to like have a place where we could all be together and where our kids would just feel like a normal kid. Yeah. Because the way that it was designed was really ingenious, is that everything is accessible so that no kid even would notice that if there's a child there that has a disability, because they're just doing all the same things. So that was really our goal, is to just make it seamless. And if you didn't know that that was the intention of the park, then you wouldn't even know, right? It just feels like a normal, beautiful park.
And where is the park?
It is next to the Memorial Hall in Tuolumne, right there next to the big park.
The thing that I like is that there's the section that's off to the, I guess, the west side, where it's the parents sit there, but it's not separated from the park. It's actually in the park. And so you can be there and watch your kids. And because when you have little kids going to the park, it's a big deal the way parks are designed, because you'll have some where the equipment is right up in the front, but the kids, they'll all play behind it, and so you can't really see them. So really you're just kind of standing trying to keep an eye on your kids. Now once you have over like 2 kids, then you stop paying attention. So now my kids run off and I'm like, yeah, they're fine.
Well, that was, again, super intentional.
Yeah.
We wanted everything to be visible, not only for parents, but we also wanted to make sure it was like safe from the street, so people wouldn't be hiding out in there.
Yeah.
All the things that are in there were very intentional. There's like a picnic area that's separated. That could also be like a quieter space. But we knew there needed to be seating for families and places for parents to relax. And also they could see their kids, so their kids could have that feeling of independence. They're exploring these places on their own, and their families are feeling safe because they can see them the whole time, and it's all fenced in. There's only one way in, one way out. They're not going to escape and run out into the street. That was all, again, 7 years of making
hard work and dedication.
Those little details that you don't think about when you walk in. It's just like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about Help Me Grow? What is that?
It's a place where parents can go if they need anything, like anything in our county. If they need food assistance or housing assistance or transportation, or they are dealing with some issues with their kids and they're not really sure what to do, they can go to helpmegrowtuo.com. And there's a referral sheet in there, and they can ask for assistance for anything that you can think of. So our partners at Infant Child Enrichment Services, they're helping to build this program. It's like a one-stop shop for parents in any issue you can think of that families might be dealing with, and they will get connected to the services that are available in our county. So they don't have to call social services and the food bank, and any one call, one email, one connection, and they can get connected with all the services that they need. Yeah. So in addition to that, there's assistance around developmental screenings. So if you're unsure where your child is developmentally, if you have a concern, or if you're just curious, you can go onto that website, take a developmental screening. It's like a 15-minute, 10-minute little screening. You can do it on your phone or your computer. And it'll give you an idea of, if there's maybe some concerns, and you'll be contacted by someone from Help Me Grow, and they'll help connect you to additional services, or they'll give you some tools around activities to do that will help boost your child's development in maybe one of those areas where they're maybe like a little lower, or you can find out like, great, your child is right on track, keep doing what you're doing. So that's on there, and it's so exciting to me because as a parent, I have 2 kids, and like all parents, we've dealt with some stuff, right? Like we've all had some stuff in our lives, especially over the last couple years, but we go through things, and if you're under a lot of stress, making one phone call to ask for help can sometimes be overwhelming. And if you need 5 things, it's so daunting that a lot of times families won't even ask for help because it's just too much. So we've created this system where parents can go, they can make a phone call and get wraparound supports of anything that they need.
If you're overstressed, you should call and get involved with Help Me Grow.
Absolutely. Or even if you're not stressed, if you are just interested in your child's development, you want to learn where they are and maybe where they could use some help, you can do that as well.
Okay.
It's kind of limitless at this point. We're growing it. We're seeing where the needs are. We're seeing, maybe parents are all needing support groups. Yeah. Maybe they just really need to make some new friends with kids their age. Those are things that, we're developing and we're seeing what's needed. And, we're going to grow this program together. But I'm super excited to have this available in our county because it's brand new. It's a fantastic model that's been proven over many, many, many years that it's successful. And we can also use this system to kind of track where the needs in our county are. So we can see, all of our parents are calling because they need, this service. So that's going to actually help our county, even the county government, because we did get some county government funds to help with this program. We can share that information with the county and with the state and say, hey, this is what everyone in our county is needing. Like this, we need to invest more in this area. And we have a system to track that and really validate those needs. So if everyone's calling for mental health supports or overwhelmingly people are asking for this one thing or a variety of things, we can track that and help guide investments into those areas. And I love that we are going to have that tool to be able to really validate what we already know as professionals. We know where these areas are, but this is going to help, be really specific in helping us guide where we go.
If somebody's interested in learning more about First Five or maybe participating or just kind of getting a better idea of the programs that you operate through First Five, which there's more than we have time possibly to talk about, how would they get in touch with you? How would they go online and learn more about it?
I think the best way is by going to our website. It's really thorough. It has all the information. It has information about Help Me Grow. It has information about grants that we have open right now. We have a new 4-year grant cycle that's opened up that's about $1.4 million that we're going to invest over the next 4 years. That's at first5tuolumne.org. So all of our programs that we offer are in there, as well as resources like where to sign up for the Imagination Library, which is our free book gifting program that we have here in the county. We've donated so far, we started this program in 2017, and we've donated over 30,000 books to kids under 5 in our county.
That's pretty awesome.
I know, it's really great. We've had about 1,300 kids that have signed up and been a part of it over the last few years, so it's growing. We have nearly 800 kids getting books every single month here in our county.
Wow.
And it's all free. We get donations through, different organizations and supported by our First Five tax funds. So.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing all the. We could talk for another hour about all the wonderful things you're doing. So, but thank you for taking the time to talk about the wonderful things that First Five is doing.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to talk about early childhood anytime.
Sarah Garcia, come back and we'll have another discussion. All right. All right. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ryan Campbell, and join us again next week for interesting conversations about Tuolumne County and the wonderful things going on here. Take care.